Hi everybody, I'm Rob Zacny reviewing StarDrive 2, a new Space 4X from Zero Sum Games, for IGN. And right now I am in the opening stages of a game as the Dreylock Council, these purple people here in the middle. And the state of play right now is that I'm at war with the Volfar Imperium up to my north, and I'm scared of the Rollia Theocracy to my south, and I'm just not sure about the Corterzine Collective. In the end, I'm going to probably be at war with everybody, because this is a sort of galactic deathmatch. There's no wonder victory, there's no diplomatic victory. In the end, there's only war. I have to exterminate every other race in the galaxy in order to win. And that's not too unfortunate, because a lot of them, it turns out, are evil jerks, like the Volfar, who proved to be probably too dumb and aggressive for their own good. And one of the racial traits is indeed that they are dumb, which gives them a research penalty, and they're bad engineers, which means their spaceships are not as good. But they are slightly better fighters, and they are rapid breeders. So there's a lot of trade-offs when it comes to the racial design. You can sort of roll your own race to give them unique characteristics that you're happy with. I went with one of the defaults here, which is sort of a more deceptive race. We're not great warriors, but we're great spies, good traders, very charismatic. So that gives us some bonuses to diplomatic interactions. One of the things is, this is a galaxy full of some oddball characters that I actually kind of enjoy. This is one of my favorites right here, the Corterzine Collective. They are a race of evil, hyper-intelligent space mollusks, carried over from the first game. You might remember them from StarDrive 1. And they've enslaved this race of adorable owl creatures, the Owlocks, and use them as sort of slave laborers. One of the things that I'm really impressed with in StarDrive 2 is its diplomatic system, and in particular the tolerance mechanic that it has, which is that all the races are a little bit xenophobic. Nobody really wants to deal with each other because maybe they know the rules of the game. Maybe they understand that this is a winner-take-all system. So every trade you make has a tolerance cost, and it sort of takes a toll on your people, and they don't want to do big deals. They don't want to interact with races on a regular basis. So you can't just do even good trades, right? Like, this is a pretty balanced trade if you were to look at it from a standpoint of what each side is offering, what it's actually worth. But my people aren't going to go for it. This is way past what they will tolerate. They do not want to use this deal. So you need to think of it almost as like a cooldown timer before your people are ready to do bigger deals. So you can do small deals, and sometimes it will you'll improve your relations by having trade treaties with each other. But you can't simply interact with your friends day after day in this game and strengthen that relationship. Your people ultimately don't want to deal with other races that much. So you got to be careful how you use them. And that actually has some interesting ramifications for the research tree, where every tier of research gives you 3 options, and once you pick one, the other 2 are gone forever. The only way you'll ever get them is by trading technologies with other races or conquering them and taking them by force. But as far as research goes, each tier of research forces some hard choices on you. So Class 1 shields will come at the expense of these other 2 technologies, and I'll have to trade for them with the other races. So everyone ends up sort of walking a unique path along the research tree, and that makes for some interesting decisions when it comes to building spaceships. And this, I think, is really the heart of StarDrive 2. Shipbuilding and ship design and the war game you go into. We'll see it in a few minutes here. Because you really need to be thinking about what you have access to that will give you advantages over your opponent, and what their weaknesses are based on the technologies that you know are available to them. Right now, my trump card is probably the Mass Driver, which has very long range, and it doesn't fall off over range. Its damage is, once it hits for the same high value no matter what. So that's a pretty valuable weapon. But the weakness, of course, is it has an endless cycle time. This thing fires once in a blue moon, and so it's, you've really got to make those shots count. The other thing I have is a fusion reactor, which is better than the basic nuclear reactor. And since I'm fighting the Volfar, I don't have to be that worried. The Volfar have fallen behind in technology. I have better armor. I have plasteel armor. I think they're still on steel armor, so I have a lot more hit points. I can hit harder. They're probably not long for this world. I've already built some spaceships to take advantage of my technology and exploit their weaknesses. There are things you need to consider when you're building a spaceship. Layout is very important because, just to give you an example, these large cubes of armor are worth a lot more than four smaller cubes, even though they're equivalent in size. So you really, when you're designing, you actually really want to look for these large expanses of territory because they allow you to put in the really valuable armor, the really valuable modules that will make your ship a real beast in combat. So right now, I just have one outmoded ship that is from the first generation of the game, and fortunately, StarDrive 2 makes it very easy to upgrade ships like that, so now I have it in the refit queue, and I'm just going to go to my home world here, bump it to the top of the queue. This is all very familiar from other 4X games, of course, and I'm going to assign another farmer over to production, and we cut the production time to 4 turns. So once that ship is complete, we are going to go and launch an invasion of the Heidi system, which seems like a pretty silly military objective as far as names go, but there you have it. So here we come. Well, we just outran our own fleet, so we do not want to do that. And the Ralia are demanding tribute, and since I'm scared of the Ralia, we're going to do that deal, because I cannot fight a war with them right now. So now I just merged my fleets, and we're attacking Heidi. And they have a defensive fleet, but I'm not worried about their fleet. What I'm worried about is their space station. The space stations are hugely valuable early defensive upgrade to your colonies, and they just are a big sack of hit points and do a lot of damage. And so, while I know I can brush their fleet aside, that's not going to be the issue. The issue is going to be killing this monster. That's going to be hard. So this is a real-time combat system, but it's pausable. These are sort of my sniper ships, and I actually want them engaging that ship as early as possible. And you can customize how your... Whoops, I don't want to do that. You can customize how your ships are fighting. I'm going to have them keep moving, and we're going to have them both giving this ship, the space station broadsides. Alright, these are ships that have plasma cannons, and those do a lot of damage to hulls, which could be valuable, but they won't stand up, they won't last long against that Death Star, as it were, so I'm not going to send them in just yet. And you can obviously set optimal engagement ranges, so these will be the ranges your ships try to keep. And you can see they have sort of greater damage potential, but of course the closer you get, the more weapons you're also probably moving into range of. So you gotta be careful with that. Not wild about the damage this guy's already taken, so I'm getting him out of there. And let's see about getting these guys moving. Moving targets are a little bit harder to hit, and I don't think their targeting is very good. And we are starting to do some damage, so I'm going to get these assassins moving in. We can use their special ability based on the modules they're carrying. Okay, that ship's not going to last long, so we're going to try to get out of there if its engines are even still working. No, already lost another frigate. So this is turning a little into a bloodbath. But I think I've got this. My capital ships are holding up their end well. I'm trying to turn this guy around because you can see he's been taking a beating along his right side, so I'm going to turn him around so he's taking the shots on his undamaged left side. And these guys are starting to do some real damage, I think, so that's good. It's pretty cool, like, we just destroyed the space station, but if I had, like, point defense cruisers, like lots of flat cannons and lasers, I could shoot down incoming missiles. And later technologies even give you things like electronic countermeasures and flares, which allow you to sort of disable missiles, and that can be pretty advantageous as well. And now I've just got to wait to kill this one last little Oh, how did he even... Oh, this is obnoxious, actually. Okay, there he goes. So, obviously, building fleets to sort of have those complementary characteristics can be really advantageous. All the ships here got little commendations for in combat, which give them little bonuses, and they're gaining experiences. So, like, veteran fleets can actually really punch above their weight. So now the planet of Heidi is undefended and unprotected and ready to be conquered, and I forgot to bring any ground troops, so we're going to go back to my base and get those. Ships. Okay, there comes some transports. I just killed it, so that's cool. Now back to my base. I could customize the loadout for these troops, but it won't really matter. I saw they only had one soldier, so I'm just going to send these guys over there right away and conquer this planet. Especially before the Raleigh get there. Come on. Gotta move. Okay, so now we're doing ground invasion, and this is probably the weakest part of the game, if I'm being honest. Because this is kind of all it is. Two sides line up, they march at each other. It can get a little more nuanced as new technologies are unveiled, and weapons have unique properties. You can get mechs out on the field. But, if you compare it to what we were just doing up there in space, this is really kind of basic stuff. Kind of the only real wrinkle you got to watch out for is certain weapons have optimal ranges. This laser rifle will only hit between 4 and 6 squares away, and within that range, it's pretty much useless. So that's kind of how tactical combat works in this game, and there's just not much to it. And it gets a lot more ponderous, actually, as more troops take the field. Why did I even move this guy here? I should have done that. Yes, here in the far future, one of your most effective weapons for infantry is going to be the knife. So that's a bit of an odd thing. Okay, now he's trying to run away, so we're gonna run him down and stab him. Keeping on. Alright, so there he goes. That was ground combat. Not a great showing of ground combat, but there are more interesting missions, like away missions, where you'll be like surveying a derelict space station and fighting alien bugs. There are dynamic events that happen up on the map, random events, and raiders and pirates that you have to contend with. But ultimately, I just don't think the ground combat holds up its end, especially when the ship design is comparatively so good and the space combat is so much more entertaining. So it's little things like that make me give StarDrive 2 a 6.9. StarDrive 2 builds on its predecessor, but I just can't quite give it a strong recommendation, simply because it's too uneven. The shipbuilding is good, but it's let down by overly aggressive AI that just tends to charge at you. The diplomacy has some really nifty ideas, like this tolerance value, but the AI seems really prone to irrational aggression and not really behaving consistently. And that's kind of the way StarDrive 2 works. I've had some fun with it, but that fun has always come with a hefty side order of frustration or disappointment. Hopefully this game will get a little bit better with patches. I see a lot of patches coming in with fixes to the AI, hopefully adding a little more nuance to the combat, and hopefully to the diplomacy as well. But just at the moment, I can't quite give it a strong recommendation. But for more on StarDrive 2, stick around IGN.